Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Miyamoto Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi is widely revered as the greatest swordsman in Japanese history, not solely for his unmatched skills in combat, but more so for his fierce dedication to self-discipline. According to historical records, Musashi fought over 60 duels throughout his life and remained undefeated. His first battle came at the young age of 13, when he challenged a seasoned samurai and emerged victorious. From that point on, Musashi relentlessly sought out the most skilled swordsmen in the land, defeating them all. But his greatness extended far beyond the battlefield. Musashi was also an artist, a philosopher, and a devout Buddhist. He sought not just to master the sword, but to understand the essence of life itself. His teachings and writings, particularly the legendary treatise The Book of Five Rings and his final work Dakoto, The Path of Aloneness, are still read today by those searching for a disciplined, purpose-driven life. In this essay, we will explore the core pillars of Musashi's philosophy and how his commitment to discipline can serve as a guide for those of us navigating the chaotic, distraction-filled modern world. 1. Rejecting pleasure, the foundation of inner strength. Musashi's philosophy begins with a radical, yet timeless idea: do not chase pleasure. In a world saturated with instant gratification, social media likes, junk food, mindless entertainment, this idea may sound harsh. Yet Musashi lived by it. During Japan's tumultuous Sengoku era, Musashi wandered forests, slept in caves, and devoted himself to harsh, solitary training. He shunned comfort not because he hated pleasure, but because he understood its cost. To become great, he believed one must sacrifice what is easy or pleasurable for what is meaningful and enduring. Now imagine an alternate Musashi, one who slept in, indulged in delicacies, spent his time chasing women or wealth. He would not have become a legend. He would have disappeared into the noise of history. Today, we face a new kind of enemy, the attention economy. Every app, every notification, every scroll down TikTok or Instagram is engineered to hijack our focus. Even our basic desires, sexual imagery, sugary foods, viral videos, are constantly weaponized against us. Musashi's message remains profoundly relevant. Meaningful discipline demands resisting short-term pleasure. He once wrote, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world." This isn't about self-loathing. It's about humility, restraint, and committing to something bigger than your next dopamine hit. If we are to cultivate true discipline, we must begin where Musashi did, by rejecting distraction and pleasure that serves no purpose. We must build lives of intention. 2. Singular focus, mastering one thing to master the self. Musashi believed in the power of complete immersion. He wrote, "Know the smallest things and the biggest things, the shallowest things and the deepest things." But above all, he emphasized focusing on one path, one purpose, until mastery is achieved. Musashi didn't dabble. He didn't multitask. He dedicated his entire existence to the art of swordsmanship. His training was not measured in hours, but in decades. He practiced until every move was instinct, until the blade was no longer a tool, but an extension of his spirit. In contrast, modern society promotes breadth over depth. We're constantly encouraged to try everything, to chase new passions, to keep our options open. While this may seem liberating, it often leads to indecision, mediocrity, and disillusionment. Psychologists call this decision paralysis, when too many choices result in no action at all. Like a buffet overflowing with delicious foods, we take a bite of everything and end up satisfied by nothing. We quit jobs after 3 months. We abandon hobbies after a week. We crave results without endurance. Musashi would have scorned this mentality. His life teaches us that greatness requires choosing a path and staying on it through pain, boredom, and uncertainty. As the old proverb goes, better to master one trade than be average at 9. Choosing one goal, one skill, or one vision for your life may seem limiting, but in truth, it is the only path to depth. The world needs fewer dabblers and more masters. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi didn't simply live life. He shaped it. In a time of chaos and war, he forged his destiny through single-minded devotion and an unshakable moral code. In a world where every moment might be your last, Musashi committed to a life of purpose, a principle that remains more relevant now than ever before. We no longer carry swords or face death in duels. Our battles today are internal, fighting laziness, emotional reactivity, social comparison, and digital addiction. But Musashi's code, the mindset of the warrior, is a timeless compass. He offers us a brutally clear map for navigating life with strength and purpose in a world that tries to scatter your attention in 1,000 directions. 3. Honor over comfort, the inner war. Musashi once wrote, "Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help." This wasn't a rejection of faith, but a call to self-reliance. He believed honor was not given by a god, a nation, or a family name. It was earned through action. To Musashi, the worst sin wasn't failure. It was betrayal of the self, of one's code, of one's word. He lived by Bushido, the way of the warrior, which demanded courage, loyalty, integrity, and sacrifice. For him, even death was preferable to dishonor. But what does honor look like in a modern context? Today, it's easy to lie, quit, ghost someone, break promises, or abandon our responsibilities. Society quietly rewards comfort over character. We chase what's easy and excuse our choices with self-care or "I deserve this." In doing so, we often erode the most powerful currency we own, self-respect. Musashi challenges us to live with a spine. He reminds us that inner peace doesn't come from avoiding struggle, but from facing it with dignity. Discipline isn't just about waking up early or going to the gym. It's about keeping your word when it's inconvenient, showing up when you don't feel like it, and holding your values firm when no one is watching. Modern life whispers, "Relax, you deserve a break." Musashi whispers back, "Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need." He's not talking about material objects. He's talking about your excuses. 4. The warrior versus the world, resisting distraction. Musashi didn't just live alone. He thrived in solitude. He trained in the wilderness, traveled on foot, and often avoided cities and society. Not because he hated people, but because he understood something we've forgotten: noise kills mastery. In Dakota, his final 21-point creed, Musashi wrote, "Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. In all things, have no preferences. Accept everything just the way it is." To many modern readers, these words sound cold, even robotic. But they are not a rejection of emotion. They are a call to rise above it. Musashi saw feelings as clouds, passing, ever-changing, and ultimately unreliable guides for life. He didn't chase motivation. He forged identity. Compare that to today's world, where feelings rule everything. We wait to feel inspired to start. We ghost people when we're not feeling it. We skip work because we feel overwhelmed. We quit the gym because we're not seeing quick results. But feelings are fleeting. Discipline is enduring. Musashi invites us to switch from feeling-led to value-led living. He trained not because he felt like it, but because it was his purpose. He meditated not for relaxation, but for clarity. He fought not for ego, but to sharpen his spirit. Imagine if you showed up to your craft, your family, your health, your goals, every day, regardless of mood. What would your life look like 12 months from now? Musashi's life reminds us that greatness doesn't bloom in comfort. It is hammered out in repetition, solitude, and discomfort. 5. Musashi's legacy, a life shaped like a blade. In the end, Musashi was more than a swordsman. He was a sculptor, not of stone, but of self. His life became his greatest work of art, sharp, unyielding, deliberate. He didn't leave behind fortune or titles. He left behind a path, a raw, ascetic, and deeply human blueprint for turning suffering into strength, chaos into clarity, and ambition into achievement. His final teaching, written just days before his death, contains no fluff, no comfort, just discipline distilled to its essence. Dakota is not a motivational poster. It is a mirror, and it asks us, are you shaping your life, or is the world shaping it for you? The ultimate aim of martial arts is not having to use them. Musashi. When most people hear the name Miyamoto Musashi, they think of the sword, duels, blood, Bushido. But the genius of Musashi wasn't limited to combat. In the latter part of his life, he became a philosopher, painter, sculptor, strategist, and author. And yet, He approached these pursuits with the same razor-sharp discipline that had made him a warrior. To Musashi, mastery was not about the field, it was about the approach. The sword was just one tool. The deeper lesson was this: if you train the mind with relentless consistency, everything becomes a weapon. Brush, blade, breath. Each becomes a form of self-expression once the self is truly trained. 6. One path, many disciplines, strategy over talent. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi famously wrote, "If you know the way broadly, you will see it in everything." This is the root of his philosophy. It's easy to believe that artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, or scientists are entirely different creatures. Each domain seems to have its own rules, tools, and geniuses. But Musashi cut through that illusion. He believed that true mastery, whether of calligraphy or combat, was about mindset, not medium. He saw all disciplines as interconnected through one core skill: strategy. Strategy, to Musashi, meant understanding timing, rhythm, and human nature. It meant learning to anticipate, to control the inner world before engaging the outer one. It meant training beyond your talent. Too many people today limit themselves by identity. I'm not creative. I'm bad at math. I could never do that. Musashi's life destroys those excuses. He fought with no formal school, created his own style, became an artist without a teacher, and wrote philosophical texts in isolation. His method? Deliberate, daily, difficult practice. In a world full of specialists and niche identities, Musashi reminds us of something powerful. You are not your role. You are your habits. 7. Detachment as power, freedom from the unnecessary. If there's one idea that confuses modern minds about Musashi, it's this: his commitment to non-attachment. In Dakota, he writes, "Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Do not collect weapons or practice with many. Be indifferent to where you live." In the age of self-love and emotional expression, this can sound cold or even toxic. But let's look deeper. Musashi wasn't suppressing emotion. He was training himself to own it, not be owned by it. Most people today are addicted to approval, overstimulated by novelty, and constantly seeking distraction. This leads to weak willpower, emotional chaos, and shallow purpose. The modern world teaches us to collect experiences, likes, followers, luxuries, while Musashi teaches us to strip away. To Musashi, true freedom is subtraction. Remove dependency on luxury. Remove emotional attachment to opinion. Remove the fear of solitude. Remove the craving for comfort. Only then, he believed, could you operate from pure inner strength. Detachment, in Musashi's world, was not nihilism. It was clarity. When you stop obsessing over everything outside of you, you start seeing what truly matters inside you. 8. Walk alone, but not blind, building your own code. Musashi's final lesson, his final act of service to humanity, was his Dakota, or the way of walking alone. 21 short rules. No fluff. No justification. Just raw, distilled wisdom. But here's what matters. He didn't say, "Follow this exactly." He said, "This is my path. Walk your own." Musashi's life wasn't about copying a template. It was about crafting your own. He didn't follow any master. He became one, by refusing to be defined by tradition, fame, or external success. He believed everyone should create their own way of life. So what would your Dakota look like? Not your Instagram bio, not your brand, your real code, the values you follow when no one's looking. What do you stand for when things go wrong? What do you cling to when you're tested? What do you do daily, even when it's hard? That's your way. That's your truth. And Musashi wants you to carve it out of stone, not sand. Conclusion: discipline is the final freedom. Miyamoto Musashi died in 1645, but his teachings, rooted in solitude, detachment, mastery, and personal integrity, are more alive than ever. He didn't win with strength. He won with strategy. He didn't become great by chasing pleasure. He became great by chasing truth. And most importantly, he didn't wait for permission. He trained, wrote, created, and walked alone, until his life became the sword itself, sharp, calm, and unbreakable. In a world of noise, Musashi remains a whisper from the past, a voice telling you, you already have everything you need, but you must become the kind of person who can wield it. Miyamoto Musashi didn't just fight battles with swords, he fought battles of the mind. And today, the battlefield has changed, but the war remains the same: distraction, doubt, and mediocrity. The question is, how can you take Musashi's ancient wisdom and make it work for you right now? In this age of overstimulation and soft discipline, let's turn the code into action. 9. Ritual over motivation. Building the Musashi morning. Musashi didn't wait to feel inspired. He trained as if his life depended on it, because it did. But even in peacetime, he kept the habit. Why? Because waiting for motivation is a trap. Modern people often rely on mood to act. If they don't feel like it, they delay, procrastinate, or quit. But Musashi's way was different. He replaced emotion with ritual. Action step: design your Musashi morning. Wake at a consistent hour before distractions creep in. Move the body, warrior's mind. 10 to 15 minutes of solitude. Meditate, write, or reflect. Practice one skill deliberately: reading, language, strategy. Review your code for the day. What values are you training? Do this for 30 days. You'll stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. Dakota, rule number 1. What Musashi meant wasn't to live without emotion, but to not let feeling override discipline. Ritual is stronger than mood. 10. Craft your code. Personal values over public trends. Musashi lived by his own sword, painted by his own brush, wrote by his own hand. In a world obsessed with copying trends and seeking validation, this is radical. You need a personal code, not a slogan, not a brand. A daily compass, made of steel, not likes. Action step: write your own Dakota. 10 to 15 short rules you believe in deeply. Must be rooted in personal experience. No need for poetic language, just truth. Reread them every morning for 30 days. Rewrite them once a year as you evolve. Some modern examples. Never break a promise to yourself. Control inputs before chasing outcomes. I serve truth, not trends. If it's not hard, it won't change me. This is how you start walking your own path, instead of following someone else's footsteps. 11. Embrace solitude. Power in walking alone. Musashi spent the last years of his life in a cave called Ryagando, where he wrote Dakota just before his death. He could have died in a palace, but he chose solitude. Why? Because solitude, to a trained mind, isn't loneliness. It's clarity. Modern life is built to keep you noisy, busy, and shallow. Solitude is the antidote. It's where the real you speaks. Action step: create Ryagando time each day. 20 to 30 minutes with no phone, music, or people. Journal your thoughts. Reflect on your actions. Ask, what did I do today that aligned with my code? Ask, where did I betray myself? Listen for answers without judgment. Solitude reveals what society hides. That's why most people fear it. Musashi didn't. 12. Strategy over strength. Thinking like a master. In today's world, most people push harder when they should be thinking better. Musashi won over 60 life-or-death duels not because he was bigger, but because he understood rhythm, mindset, and human behavior. You can train this too. Action step: adopt a strategist's mindset. Before any major action, ask, what's the terrain? Context. Ask, what are the rhythms? Timing cycles. Ask, what's my opponent's weakness? Not always a person. It could be your bad habit. Ask, where's my leverage? Small move, big outcome. Whether you're running a business, creating art, or leading a team, strategy beats brute force. Always. 13. Burn the map. Reject the comfort of comparison. Musashi never trained under one master. He never followed one school. He even rejected the idea of owning too many weapons. Today, people hoard mental weapons: books, tips, courses, podcasts, but never take action. Why? Because they're comparing, not creating. Action step: go on a 7-day no comparison challenge. No social media scrolls. No Googling how to on things you already know how to do. Focus entirely on doing the work, not watching others do it. End each day with this question: what did I learn from direct experience today? Musashi's sword was forged in action, not analysis. So must yours. Closing reflection: the warrior you could become. Musashi didn't become a legend by being perfect. He became a legend by being relentless. He practiced harder than anyone, rejected easy paths, and died with his code intact. That's not just a samurai. That's a fully realized human being. You don't need to carry a sword to live like him. But you do need to train daily, walk alone sometimes, and craft a personal code so clear and honest that it slices through your excuses. And when you do, you'll stop asking, "What should I do with my life?" Because your life will already become the answer. There is a moment at the end of every warrior's path, not the moment of death, but the moment of realization. The moment when you understand that the battle was never against the enemy. It was always against yourself. Miyamoto Musashi, undefeated in over 60 duels, spent his final years alone, writing quietly in a cave. He didn't seek celebration. He didn't care about recognition. He stripped life down to its bones and studied what remained. And what remained was a sword that no longer needed to be drawn. The master dies with nothing to prove. When Musashi wrote Dakodo, his 21 rules of life, it was just days before his death. No dramatic exit. No grand performance. Just ink and silence. That's the real endgame of relentless discipline. You become so powerful you no longer need to prove it. No more competition. No more thirst for recognition. Just internal harmony. In a world screaming, "Look at me," Musashi whispered, "Let go. Let go of attachment. Let go of validation. Let go of the sword itself. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help." Dakodo, rule number 20. He wasn't rejecting faith. He was embracing self-reliance. The final form of discipline is not control over others, but over your own longing to be seen. Walking the pathless path. We all want blueprints, formulas, secrets. But Musashi never followed one. He fought without armor. He trained without a school. He painted without permission. He died without fear. That's what the warrior becomes. Not a follower of paths, but the one who walks where no map exists. Your version of this path might not involve swords, duels, or meditation in a cave, but it will require leaving comfort for challenge, choosing silence over noise, practicing long after motivation dies, forging a code you're willing to live and die by. And if you do, there comes a moment when the world no longer defines you. Because you've defined yourself. You are the weapon. All Musashi did, his art, his battles, his writings, were extensions of a single truth. The man becomes the weapon, not the sword, not the brush, not the words, the mind, the discipline, the will. This is why Musashi's lessons still echo centuries later. Because the external world changes, but the inner war remains. Distraction is the new enemy. Discipline is the new blade. Mastery is still the path. And silence is still where the answers live. The Musashi Manifesto, your final code. Here's the distilled legacy. Not just Musashi's, but what it becomes through you. You do not need permission to begin. You do not chase praise. You chase mastery. You train in peace so you do not collapse in chaos. You live simply so you can see clearly. You respect others, but never bow to their judgment. You sharpen the mind daily, the body often, and the soul constantly. You leave no part of yourself unexplored. You live by a code no one else can write. You will walk alone when necessary, but never without purpose. You do not conquer the world. You conquer the self. That's what it means to live with relentless self-discipline. Final reflection. The cave is not a place, it's a choice. Musashi's cave was not just a location, it was a metaphor. A choice to leave behind the noise. A decision to face the self without distraction. A return to the raw essence of being. And you? You don't need a mountain. You don't need exile. You just need a moment, a single, still moment, to ask, am I training to impress others, or to become unshakable? Because in the end, no one remembers how many people clapped. They remember who stood their ground when the world shook. Let that be you. Draw your blade, not in violence, but in clarity. Walk your path, not in ego, but in honor. Live your code, not in imitation, but in truth. And when your time comes, like Musashi, you too can die with nothing left undone.